Hi, welcome back to the class. Now, in the last class, we tried to form a p-n junction on a single pure semiconducting crystal. And then we connected the same crystal to an external DC power supply with the two different modes of connection. That is, we saw the forward biasing and the reverse biasing of a p-n junction diode. Now, in this today's class, we will try to plot the IV characteristics for a p-n junction diode. And then we will also see the cause for the breakdown of the junction during the reverse biasing mode. And at the last, we will see the resistance of a junction diode in both the mode, forward as well as in the reverse biasing mode. So let's get started with the IV characteristics for a p-n junction diode. Now let's see the VI characteristic graph for the p-n junction diode. So what it tells us about the current variation in the p-n junction diode itself when the terminals of the diode is attached to the external DC power supply. So here let's look at the experimental arrangement first. Experimental arrangement. So what we need is the diode. So this is a symbol for the diode. This is a P type and an N type. Now what we can do is we can connect this diode to a battery. Okay, so here I'll be using a potentiometer. So this potentiometer is connected to the external power supply, positive, negative. And this diode, we need a milliammeter to measure the current in this circuit. Whereas we also require a voltmeter so that we can measure a voltage across this p-n junction diode. So this is your voltmeter and this is your milliammeter. Now I have connected this DC supply, some voltage V, to the potentiometer so that I can adjust the voltage as per the need, okay, that will be given to this p-n junction. Now let's work with this silicon, whereas for silicon this p-n junction is made up of silicon which is equal to 0.7 volt, or else if you're taking a germanium it's a 0.3 volt. Okay, so now as you increase the voltage, we know that there is a barrier potential of 0.7 volt. Now as you increase the voltage, you are starting from 0, then 0.1, 0.2. So up till, if you are going for silicon, let's go with first silicon, that's a 0.7. Now up till this 0.7, what you will find is that there will be a change. Now let me draw, this is your 0.7 volt. Now before 0.7, what you will observe over here in the circuit is that there will be a very small current flowing in the circuit. Okay, very small current flowing in the circuit. That is due to the thermally generated charge carriers. Now once it reaches this external DC power supply, is kept at above 0.7, you can say. Okay, once it crosses this 0.7 volt, okay, it will overcome the potential barrier for this region. Thereby there will be a breaking of the junction, that's a potential barrier, and the carrier starts moving from one side to the other side. So after that you will find that the current which is caused is due to the majority charge carriers. And after this 0.7 volt, there will be a rapid increase in the current, okay, so which is in the range of milliampere. And the point at which there is a rapid increase in the current, we call it as a cut-in voltage. We call it as a cut-in voltage or else a cut-off voltage. So this is the case for forward biasing. Forward biased. Now when you want to do it for the reversed biasing, what I have to do is I have to just simply change the polarities of this battery. Okay, so here I'll be getting negative, positive, negative, positive. So here when I do this, basically I'm reverse biasing this p-n junction. Now we know that for reverse biasing, again there will be a reversed saturation current. So that is being flowing in this, and that is almost constant. There is no variation that much. Okay, there is no variation, there is no big variation you can say, and that will be a very flat, and then once a particular voltage is being reached, for the reversed biasing, suppose once it crosses, just for the example, okay, suppose it crosses some 3.2 volt in this case, that is a reversed voltage, VR, reversed voltage. In that case, the breakdown of the junction occurs. So the voltage at which the breakdown occurs, we call as a breakdown voltage. So this is your breakdown voltage, wherein suddenly there will be a rise in the reverse saturation current. So here the IR stands for the reverse saturation, and again it's in the very small range, that is a microampere. So this event is happening in the reversed biasing. Reversed biasing. Now this was for the silicon. This graph what you see is for the silicon. Now for the same forward characteristics, if you want to show for the germanium, it will be somewhere, it has to start from 0.3 and then again rapid increase. So this is a graph for germanium, and the cut-in voltage for this will be 0.3 volts. All right, so this is the VI characteristics of the PN junction diode. Now, in the markets, there are so many PN junction diodes available. Now, each PN junction has got some parameters you can see. Now, if you look at this graph, they are rapidly increasing. It's not that it will give as much value as you want, that is a current. There are some limitations for that. Now, the limitations, when you buy some parameters, you will find a parameters like maximum forward current, that is a maximum forward current. So what is that maximum forward current? If you want to buy a PN junction diode, it is the maximum current a diode can give, without damaging the PN junction of it. That is the limitations. So it will be written on that diode. Okay, the next is your peak inverse voltage. Peak inverse voltage, that is the maximum voltage what we can give, okay, to this PN junction when it's in a reversed biased. Now here in this case, the peak inverse voltage will be something 3 or something. Okay, so that is the maximum limit. If you crosses this limit, okay, you will find that the junction which is inside this diode is permanently destroyed. So that's the peak inverse voltage. There are some limitations for that. And the third one is the power rating, maximum power rating. Now that this is the maximum, now it gives idea about the maximum heat that can be dissipated through this PN junction diode without damaging the PN junction. Okay, without damaging this diode, you can say. So that's all about the PN junction characteristics curve. Now here, the next thing we are going to look at the why this is happening. This breakdown, what you see, what are the reasons? Now there are two reasons what you will see in this. The very first one is the avalanches effect, and the second one we call as a Zener effect. Now let's see the cause of the reverse breakdown in a junction diode. So we have two processes. So first one, I can say it's a Zener breakdown. It is due to the Zener breakdown. Second is avalanches breakdown. All right. Now the Zener breakdown occurs in the junction diode which are highly doped. So here this is my P side and this is my N side. To show that they are highly doped, I'll be using a plus, and over here I'll be using a minus for the N type. Now this is my VR. I am connecting some reversed voltage to this PN junction diode, and we know that the doping concentration in this is very high. So now when the doping concentration is very high, we know that this depletion width will be a low. So I can write doping concentration is high, so the width will be small, thereby the potential barrier will get increased. Now when the potential barrier gets increased, that means we know that the electric field V is equal to the potential barrier divided by the depletion width, right? So if the VB gets increased, the electric field in the junction will get increased. Now for example, suppose if I considering this as a silicon, now here it's a 0.7 volt. VB is equal to 0.7 volts, whereas if I'm giving some 4 volts for this, in this case my barrier potential will be 4 volts plus 0.7, so it should give me 0.7 plus 4, so that will be a 4.7 volts. Or else in approximate, I can say that it will be approximately close to 5 volts, right? Or else let me go with the 4.7. So this is my 4.7 volts divided by, so the depletion width is somewhere in the 1 micrometer, so it will be a 10 raised to minus 6 meters. So that will give me answer of some 4.7 into 10 raised to 6 volts meter inverse. All right. Now this is a very big field. You can say a very high barrier field. Yes. Now this barrier field, what it will do is it is going to strip out the electrons. Now here this is a p-type. So there is electrons in the minority concentration. So these are the minorities electrons, whereas here the holes are in minorities. Now what this electric field which is created in the junction, it will strip off the electrons from this p side, to the n side, or else you can say that this electron is being tunneled to the n side through this thin depletion layer. So this tunneling, the band-to-band tunneling, we call it as a Zener breakdown in this case. Or else if I want to show it on this IV characteristics, how I can draw is I can just show this like this. So this is for Zener breakdown. Zener breakdown happening at VR is equal to 4 volts. Okay, VR is equal to 4 volts. This is the 4 volts. Whereas this avalanches breakdown, okay, occurs in the junction diode which are lightly doped. So here I'll be just using P and N. So these are lightly doped. Now we know that when the concentration, the doping concentration is low, basically the depletion width is going to increase, so the width increases, and if the width gap increases, the potential barrier will be weak, so it will be a very weak. So in that case, when you give some reversed voltage, okay, such that it will start giving us the reverse saturation current, or else when you supply some suitable voltage to this PN junction diode, it will start giving us the reverse saturation current in this circuit. So here this will be IR, here also it's a IR, reverse saturation current. Now here again these are electrons are minorities, holes minority. So what will happen as you give the reverse voltage, these minority charge carriers in both the sides, will try to jump from one region to the other region, or else they will accelerate. Now when they accelerate, again the same thing happens, the recombination process occurs, but at the same time there will be again electron and a holes pair created in this PN junction diode. Why? Because you are connecting one external DC power supply to this. All right. So this is how, and this chain, the process of collision of this electron with some other covalent bond, and there will be again a release of that electron in that case, you can say. So this chain of collision will go on continue, and again there will be a increment in the charge carriers, so you will find a very large current in the avalanches breakdown as well. So that we call as a reverse current. So let me show that this is this reverse current. Now the reverse voltage required for the avalanche's breakdown is bit large, so you can say VR is equal to 6 volt for this to get the reverse saturation current. Why? Because here in this case this reverse saturation current is happening because of the electric field which is created in this junction, whereas here you see that it's just because of the collision process and not due to the electric field. Now if you compare this both Zener breakdown and the avalanche's breakdown, okay, they differ by the mechanism of occurrence. Now here this Zener breakdowns occurs due to the electric field created, whereas here the avalanche's breakdown occurs with the heat energy gained by the electron and then the collision of the electrons with the other atoms. So this is the basic difference between the Zener and the avalanche's breakdown in the reverse bias when you do the reverse biasing for the PN junction diode. Now before going to the load line for a simple diode circuit, let's see what are non-linear electrical circuits and what are linear electrical circuits. So let's take an example to study this, two different electrical circuits. So we have, let me take an resistor which is connected to a DC supply of some volt V. So let this be a R, okay, and if you just run this setup, you will find a current flowing in this circuit. And if you are tracing the IV characteristic graph for this, so this is your V, which is in a volts, this is in a I, whatever it is in milliamp or else amp, you will find that there is a increase in the current, which you will find a linear increase, right? It's actually a straight line linearly increasing. So what I can say is that this circuit obeys Ohm's law. Ohm's law, which is V is directly proportional to current. So as you increase the voltage, you will find that there is a linear increase in the current, and such circuit which obeys the Ohm's law, we call it as linear electric circuits. Linear electric circuits. Now we are dealing with the junction diode. So now let's see what exactly the junction diode is doing. So we have a PN junction like this, so which is connected again to a same potential, we can say, of V volts. This is my P and this is my N. And if you trace this, we have already done this. So we know the graph for IV characteristics. So this is in a milliamp and this is V in volts. So this is your VF stands for forward voltage and IF stands for the forward current. So we already know the graph of this, which is the exponentially increasing, rapid exponential increase in the current. Now this is an exponentially increasing graph, so I can say that this does not obey Ohm's law. Ohm's law. Okay, so any circuits, any electrical circuit which do not obeys the Ohm's law, we call it as non-linear electrical circuit, electric circuits. So that is the basic difference between the non-linear electric circuits and the non-linear electric circuits. Now let's try to understand the DC load line for a simple diode circuit. So here I'll take a simple circuit, okay. So let me take an DC supply, positive, negative, which is connected to a linear component, I'll say linear electric circuit. So I name this as my RL, which is connected to a non-linear electric device, that is your diode, okay, and it's again in series with this battery. All right. So let me call this V be the potential difference across this DC supply. So when I connect it like this, so I'll get a current I in this, and again here there is a voltage drop across this load resistance, and plus there will be some voltage drop across this diode. So that is equal to VD. Let VD be the voltage drop across this diode. Now let me plot a graph of a IV characteristics for a diode in a forward biased. Now it's a exponentially increasing graph. So here I have the current flowing in this circuit, plus we have V in volts. This is in volts, this will be in milliamp, and this is my origin. So we are focusing on the load line analysis for the simple diode circuit. Now what exactly the load line is? Load line basically represents the response of the linear part of the circuits when it's connected to a non-linear electric devices in the circuit. Okay, so to plot this load line, so let's start with the KVL. So let's apply this KVL for this circuit. So apply KVL. When I apply a KVL, KVL says it's a voltage rise is equal to voltage drop. So here there is a rise in the voltage. What I can write is V is equal to, there is a drop. So let me write this as a ID. Let's consider this as a ID. So here I'll get is ID into RL. So that's the drop, ID into RL. Plus there is a potential drop across this diode D. So let me number this as my equation 1. Now if I make, I'm going to put up a condition. So if I make ID is equal to 0, all right? Yes. So let me put this ID is equal to 0. That is, there is no current flowing in this, just an ideal case. In that case, from this KVL, what I can say, if this ID is equal to 0, in that case I can write V is equal to VD. All right. So I can write V is equal to VD. So that's the first equation I have got. In the same manner, if I just make this VD, that's a voltage drop across the non-linear electric circuit. Okay, if I consider the voltage drop across this is 0, in that case what I'll get is, if VD is equal to 0, in that case I'll get V is equal to ID into RL, or else I can rewrite this as a ID is equal to V upon RL. Yes, so that's the second equation. So now I got the ID is equal to V by RL when I make VD is equal to 0, and exactly the opposite when ID is equal to 0, okay, I'm getting V is equal to VD. Now if I try to plot the same points on this graph, what I'll get is, suppose this is the first, VD is 0, ID is equal to V by RL, my V is equal to 0. So here what I get is this point, so that is V by RL. So this is V by RL, that's the one point. Whereas the second point, ID is 0, V is getting as VD, so it will be ID is equal to 0 and V is equal to VD. V is equal to VD. Now this point, the coordinates, if you want to write it in terms of coordinate, what it will be is 0 comma V by RL. Whereas here if you want to write it, I'll get it in terms of coordinate. ID is what? ID, so this is VD comma 0, correct, in the form of a coordinate. Now this point we call it as a saturation point. Okay, so I call this as my saturation point because this is the point where the current in this circuit will be a maximum. Now if you see this circuit, it's in a series connection, and in series connection the current remains the same in the entire circuit. Now this is a point where V by RL is the point where the current is going to be in a maximum, so I call it as a saturation point, whereas this point on the x-axis I call it as the cutoff point, wherein the current in the circuit will be a minimum. Alright, so I have got 2 points. Now if I want to get more points between this region, that is from 0 to this VD voltage, by varying the another voltages, by varying the different voltages, you can get a plot of the different points over here. Okay, so now what I do, since I have got a maximum current and the minimum current, so what I do is I just draw a straight line. So I just draw a straight linear line like this. So this line we call it as a load line. So this is my load line, and the point at which this load line intersects with the forward characteristics curve of a diode, the point of this contact, okay, is called as a Q point or else the operating point. So this is my Q point, or we also call this as a operating point. And if I want to show the corresponding voltages or else a current, I can write it as, this is my IDQ, and the corresponding voltage on the x-axis will be my VDQ, or else the Q point, if I want to write the coordinate for this, what I can do is VDQ comma IDQ. So that's the coordinate for the Q point. Now the Q point tells us about the parameters of both the part of the circuits. Parameters in terms of current and parameters in terms of voltage. So we can say that this is a point where both the parameters of the circuits are matched. Okay, so now what I can do is that I'll divide this equation 1 by RL, divide equation 1 by RL. So what I get is V by RL is equal to ID plus VD by RL. Now I'm interested in ID, so let me write that ID is equal to, ID will be equal to minus VD upon RL plus V by RL. Alright, so this is my equation for ID. Now what I know, the equation of a straight line, so y is equal to mx plus c, this is the equation of straight line. And if you compare the equation for ID with this straight line equation, what I can say, this y is nothing but my ID, that's along the y-axis. Now c is the intercept on the y-axis. So when I compare it, what I can say, c is the intercept on the y-axis, which is my V by RL, and here m is the slope. So m is the slope of my, so what it is, my m is minus 1 by RL, so that's minus 1 by RL. Now this slope is very important. Now if you see this slope, it's inversely proportional to this RL. So if the RL gets changed, the Q point, okay, will change over here. Yes? So basically the parameters again gets changed for this circuit if you are changing the load resistance RL for this circuit. Now let's see the resistance of a crystal diode. So here what I have drawn is the forward characteristics of a diode. So let's first see the forward resistance. So we have a forward resistance. Now in the forward resistance, again we have a two category. We have something called the DC forward resistance and the AC forward resistance. Now suppose this is the operating point, that's the best point to operate a circuit. So let P be the operating point, and let me mark this as my B point, okay, and let this be the corresponding current B at the A. So if I want to write the DC resistance, DC forward resistance, it's equal to the DC voltage available, DC voltage at diode divided by DC current at the diode. So here in this case I can rewrite this as the voltage available, that the DC supply is of 0 O to B divided by O to A. That's the magnitude of the supply. Now what about the AC forward resistance? Now if you look at this carefully, let me again show, let this P be a point, operating point I say. Okay, now if you see this forward characteristic graph, okay, it does not obey the Ohm's law. What I know is this does not obey Ohm's law. Yes. Now the AC resistance comes when you try to vary the voltage across this operating point, or else suppose this is your midpoint. Okay, now you try to change the voltage from this region. Okay, suppose this is my A, B, C, and let this be, we see D, E, and F. Now this is the operating point, and if you want to vary the voltage across this operating point, that is just before and just after this operating point, this is the area. So in that case we know this diode characteristics does not obey the Ohm's law, so it will not give us a particular resistance value here, because if you just vary the voltage across this operating point, the resistance will change. So what I can write is that I can write it as AC forward resistance, AC forward resistance is equal to the varying voltage, at the diode divided by the corresponding, the change in the voltage. I can say this is a change in the voltage at the diode divided by the corresponding change in the current. So if I want to show it, there's a change in the voltage. So here it's a change in from 0 to C, that's the origin to C. I can write it as O to C minus this O to A, that's the region where I'm going to change it. So from 0 to A and then from 0 to C, that's the area what I change. So I can write it as O to C minus O to A divided by the change in the corresponding change in the current, that is O to F minus O to D, that is O to F minus O to D. Correct? So or else I can rewrite it as is just a difference between AC and DF. Okay, so that is the change in the voltage of the diode divided by the corresponding change in the current. Now what about the reverse characteristics? Okay, we also have a reverse resistance. So the next is the reverse resistance. Now when you talk it in terms of ideally, okay, ideally the reverse resistance is infinite, but in practically you will find a very finite current flowing in that circuit, that is the leakage current. We observe a leakage current in a practical. Leakage current is there. Yes. Whereas if you want to comment in terms of reverse resistance and a forward resistance, I can say for germanium, okay, for germanium the ratio of this reverse resistance is somewhere 40,000:1, whereas for the silicon you will find it to be 1 So 10 lakh is to 1. So such a big value. So this is the ratio of the reverse resistance versus the forward resistance. So the reverse resistance is normally very, very high if we compare with the forward resistance. Whereas for the forward resistance, we have a range. The range is in terms of, the range will form 1 ohms to something 25 ohms. So this is the range of a forward resistance. So that's all from this crystal diode. Thank you very much.